Welcome to the third episode of 5G Tech Talk. Thanks for giving a good response to my previous episode. In the last episode, we talked about 5G services and specific use cases, majorly on three categories: enhanced mobile broadband, ultra reliable low latency communication, and massive machine type communication. Today, we are going to talk about the 5G spectrum, and we will look at where different 5G services fall within this spectrum, whether they operate in the lower frequency band or the higher frequency band. So let's dive in. Awesome. Music is truly incredible. Don't you think so? Imagine you are at a grand music festival surrounded by people from all corners of the world. The music played at the festival brings us all together with its harmonious use of diverse frequencies. These varied frequencies blend together to create a perfect melody that is soothing to our ears. Similarly, different wavelengths of light create a beautiful rainbow that gives pleasure to our eyes. This serves as an analogy, highlighting that frequency and wavelength are inversely proportional. Whatever the case would be, we achieve wonderful results with different frequencies or wavelengths. Now, do you know why this diverse frequency matters so much? Well, let's think about it. When different instruments play at same frequency, they interfere with each other, creating a cacophony instead of a melody sound. Let's take one of the best example. Do you know soldiers are not allowed to march in unison when crossing a suspension bridge? Maybe most of you already knew about this. There is a science behind it. Because structures like bridges have a natural frequency of vibration within them. When all soldiers march at the same frequency, their synchronized steps could match the bridge's natural frequency. Eventually, it will amplify the vibration in the bridge and potentially lead to collapsing the bridge. This phenomena is known as resonance. So, to avoid that, soldiers break the steps on a bridge. So, the whole concept of telling this story is that if any two devices transmit on the same frequency at the same place, they are actually interfering with each other. So, why we like music is because it is made with diverse frequencies. Now, we classify this diverse frequency range into high and low categories. These high and low terms are relative terms based on the size of the spectrum available for that service. For example, in radio broadcasting, 90.4 FM transmit at a lower frequency of 19.4 MHz, while 107.8 FM operate at a higher frequency of 107.8 MHz. Similarly, in sound waves, different wavelengths of sounds are perceived as different pitches. Consider the example of human voices. A high frequency such as 880 Hz is perceived as a high pitch. This indicates more cycles per second, which corresponds to a shorter distance between successive crests of a wave. High frequency sound like the sound of a whistle or a child voice, indicating that a child voice has a high frequency voice. On the other hand, a low frequency like 55 Hz is perceived as a low pitch with fewer cycles per second. Low frequency sounds include a man's deep voice like the baritone voice of Amitabh Bachchan. He has a very strong voice. This suggests that low frequency wave carry more energy, similar to how tsunamis move with massive amount of water in the form of energy. Take the example of electromagnetic waves. When comparing radio frequency to mobile frequency, radio frequency operate in lower range of 90 megahertz to 108 megahertz, while 4G mobile network function in a much higher frequency range of 410 megahertz to 3700 megahertz, 3.7 gigahertz. Now let's understand the main topic, what is spectrum, and understand with the real world examples. Imagine you are at a large PVR movie theater complex. This complex has multiple auditorium, each playing a different movie. Despite the close proximity of the auditoriums, you never heard the sound from other movies while watching your own. This seamless experience is very similar to how a spectrum works in wireless communication. Think of the entire movie theater complex as the electromagnetic spectrum. Each auditorium within the complex represents a specific frequency band within this spectrum. Just like each auditorium is designed to prevent sound from leaking into adjacent rooms, each frequency band is carefully managed to prevent interference with other bands. Each auditorium is soundproofed, ensuring that the audio from one movie does not interfere with another. This is analogous to how different frequency bands are isolated from one another to prevent interference. Each movie has its own dedicated auditorium, much like how each service, example mobile communication, radio, TV broadcast, has its own allocated frequency range within the spectrum. The movies are scheduled in a way that maximize the use of available auditorium without any overlap that could cause confusion. Similarly, spectrum allocation is carefully coordinated to maximize efficiency and avoid interference. So, spectrum in the context of wireless communication refer to the range of electromagnetic frequencies used to transmit data over the air. 3GPP has specified the following frequency ranges. Frequency range 1, FR1, varies from 450 MHz to 6 GHz. We also call it sub 6 GHz. Frequency range 2, FR2, varies from 24.25 GHz to 52.6 GHz. Let's discuss FR1, the low frequency band of 5G. This band possesses certain characteristics. For example, low frequency sound can travel clearly over long distances. Frequency used in FM radio and certain mobile networks can penetrate buildings effectively and cover long distance due to the inverse relationship between frequency and wavelength. Lower frequency corresponding to longer wavelengths. These properties make FR1 ideal for wide area coverage solutions, meaning lower frequency bands are perfect for extensive coverage needs. The lower operating band can be used for all 5G use cases, that is EMBB, URLLC, and EMTC. While FR1 support channel bandwidth ranging from 5 MHz to 100 MHz, it actually limits the peak connection throughput for EMBB applications. Although it provides good throughput, it might not be sufficient for high demand use cases like VR or AR. One very important point to note here is that in 5G, the base station channel bandwidth can be greater than or equal to the mobile channel bandwidth. For instance, a 5G base station might support a channel bandwidth of 100 MHz, while a mobile, your user equipment, could support a bandwidth of 20 MHz only. In contrast, 4G required a one-to-one mapping between the base station and UE channel bandwidth. For example, if a 4G base station support 20 MHz, the UE must also support 20 MHz. All bands are designed using the prefix N, like bands N1 to N76 are reformed bands, meaning they have already been specified for use by 4G. For example, the 5G operating band N1 correspond to 4G operating band 1. The largest band within FR1 are the new 5G TD operating bands N77, N78, N79 and N102. For more information, refer to 3GPP specification 38.104. Let's discuss FR2, frequency range 2. This is the higher side of the 5G spectrum. FR2 span frequency from 24.25 GHz to 52.6 GHz, as I said earlier. These frequencies are much higher than those used in earlier mobile technology like 3G and 4G, which operates primarily in frequency range 1. FR2 includes what is commonly referred to as a millimeter waves. Let's see the characteristics of FR2. First one, high data rates. FR2 higher frequency allow for much wider bandwidth compared to FR1. This translates to significantly higher data rates, enabling peak speed of up to 10 Gbps. This capacity is ideal for application requiring massive amount of data to be transmitted quickly, such as ultra high definition video streaming, augmented reality and virtual reality. Second characteristic is low latency. One of the standout feature of 5G is its ultra low latency, and FR2 play a crucial role in achieving this. With latency as low as 1 millisecond, FR2 enable real-time application like remote surgery, autonomous driving, and industrial automation, where immediate response times are critical. However, it also prevents some challenges like higher frequencies have a shorter range and are more susceptible to obstacles like building, trees, and even weather conditions. Due to its shorter wavelength, FR2 often require a clear line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver. These characteristics require a careful planning and placement of network infrastructure to avoid signal blockage and ensure seamless connectivity. To overcome the challenges of shorter range and line of sight requirement, advanced technology like beamforming and massive MIMO are used. We will cover this in our separate episode. Now, if we talk about the operating band belonging to FR2 are N257 to N263. For more information, refer to 3GPP specification 38.104 again. FR2 supports channel bandwidth from 50 to 400 MHz, allowing for incredible fast data transmission. As per the latest specification, channel bandwidth of 2000 MHz is possible with the N263 band. Now, to manage this high frequency band and ensure consistent coverage, 5G network rely on small cells. These are low power base stations that cover small geographic area and are often installed on street lights, buildings and other urban infrastructure. Small cells help overcome the limitation of high frequency waves by providing dense network coverage in area where traditional cell tower might struggle. So I hope we got clarity on FR1 and FR2. Now there are a few fundamental concepts we need to understand. Let me ask a question. Why is 5G referred to as NR or new radio? Let me explain it. Because of the introduction of new 5G bands available in sub 6 GHz, frequency band FR1 and introduction of millimeter wave frequency band FR2. Additionally, 5G brings new and advanced radio technologies to minimize the latency, which I will cover in future episodes. While new bands were also introduced in 3G, like in 3G it was 2100 megahertz, and in 4G, like there are various frequency introduced in the range of 3 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. So 5G brings significant change by introducing millimeter waves, and because of this significant change, we call it new radio. Let me ask another question. We call FR2 as millimeter wave, but what do we call FR1? Is it centimeter waves, decimeter waves, or meter waves? As we move from left to right along the frequency spectrum, frequency increase and wavelength decrease from meter to decimeter to centimeter to millimeter. Until LTE, we primarily deal with meter waves or decimeter waves. However, with 5G, we will be dealing with centimeter and millimeter waves. So you can think of FR1 as meter waves and decimeter waves, and FR2 as centimeter waves and millimeter waves. So to deliver true eMBB services, we will target this service to millimeter wave frequency or URLLC services with a slight compromise of eMBB. We will aim for the centimeter wave frequency. If we need to deliver all three services, massive machine type communication, ultra reliable low latency services, and enhanced mobile broadband, while compromising a bit on URLLC and eMBB side, we will focus on the sub 6 GHz frequency band. So finally, we cover a lot in FR1 and FR2. Now come to the spectrum allocation. Who does the spectrum allocation? Regulatory bodies for spectrum allocation are government or independent agencies responsible for managing and assigning the radio frequencies spectrum to various services and users. They ensure fair and efficient use of the spectrum, prevent interference between users, and promote technological advancement. Key regulatory bodies include the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI, right? Federal Communication Commission, FCC in the US, Ofcom in UK, FICORA in Finland. FICORA is Finnish Communication Regulatory Authority, or the International Telecommunication Union, ITU. Right. These authorities establish rules, conduct spectrum auctions, and allocate frequencies to ensure optimal use of this valuable resource. This allocation ensures that your mobile phone, Wi-Fi, and other wireless devices can all work simultaneously without interfering with each other. So that is for today's episode on 5G Tech Talk. I hope you found this episode informative and interesting too. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And stay tuned for more technical insight on 5G Tech Talk. Until next time, I am Modi Dharani signing off. Stay connected and stay informed. Thank you.